Alright, so we are back for my predictions for this week's UFC Fight Night card, headlined by Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez. And the card's nothing crazy. You can definitely tell this is a filler card between the great UFC Austin Fight Night that was last week and UFC 296. I mean, we had arguably the best Fight Night card of the year last week, and we're going to have arguably the best pay-per-view next week, so having a subpar card in between is acceptable. The main event and co-main event are interesting, definitely the two best fights on the card, but outside of those two fights, the rest of the card isn't great. Hakaras versus Jamie Malarkey could be an interesting fight. The veteran Tim Elliott is on the card as well. He just fought like a month ago and he's already fighting again, so he's being very active. There are a lot of Asian fighters on this card because this card was originally supposed to be somewhere in Asia, I think China or Singapore, and for some reason that got canceled and they moved it to the Apex. There are actually some interesting Asian prospects on the card like Hoon Seong Park, who's undefeated from South Korea, and I think all of his wins have come by finishes. Actually, 7 of his 8 wins have come by finishes, 4 of those in the first round. Tatsuro Taira's also on the card. He's a very interesting prospect, 14-0. 4-0 in the UFC, and he's just been dominating his opponents so far, so interesting to see how far he'll go. But we're going to jump straight into that co-main event. Anthony Smith steps in on short notice to face Khalil Rountree. Smith has to get this fight to the ground. On the feet, he is completely outmatched. He's outclassed. He's probably the slower fighter. He's a less powerful fighter, less technical. On the feet, Anthony Smith has a good jab, a really good right cross. That's his best punch, and that's about it. He has some decent leg kicks and a decent right hook, but he sort of wings on it, leaves himself exposed and open to counters. And you don't want to leave yourself exposed against a guy like Khalil Rountree. This guy's so powerful, so technical, so fast. He can use his kicks to stay out of boxing range. On the feet, Anthony Smith is going to want to spend as much time as possible in boxing range because that's where he's going to have the most success with his jab and his right hand. And at range, Anthony doesn't have great kicks of his own, and he doesn't really defend kicks too well, especially the leg kicks. They are in opposite stances, so Smith isn't as vulnerable to the leg kicks. But Rountree can still look for the lead leg kicks or look for the inside leg kicks. I'm not a huge fan of inside leg kicks, but if he wants, he can go to them. But the body kicks and the head kicks are going to be there. The body kicks, I think, will be a good weapon for Khalil in this fight. We saw him use the body kicks effectively against Carl Robertson. And then in boxing range, all he really has to watch out for is that right cross. Once he gets around that, he can throw fast shifting combinations. He's very powerful on the feet. He's very tricky to figure out. The feints in and of itself are going to be hard for Anthony Smith to figure out. His feints are very awkward and unorthodox, so on the feet you definitely have to give him the advantage, but where Anthony Smith has the advantage is if he can take this fight to the ground, because he has some of the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the light heavyweight division. He has very good positional grappling, great submissions, a very good triangle choke, and on the ground, Khalil Rountree isn't the best. He got submitted by Tyson Pedro. Now, Tyson Pedro is a good grappler, but if Pedro can submit you, Anthony Smith absolutely can submit him, but can Anthony get this fight to the ground? Anthony isn't the best wrestler. It has definitely improved a lot over the past few years, but he still isn't amazing at taking the fight to the ground. But at the same time, Rountree isn't the best at defending takedowns. He doesn't have very good takedown defense. And Smith did take down Ryan Spann and Johnny Walker, so I think he would be able to take down Khalil Rountree. But anytime he does go for a takedown, he's at risk of getting countered. But at the same time, anytime Khalil throws a kick, Anthony could take him down that way. I know Anthony isn't really known for doing that, but it's something he could look for. I've been going back and forth on this fight. Anthony is in on short notice, so he doesn't have a full training camp. At the same time, Rountree accepted this fight on short notice, and he was preparing for a completely different opponent to Anthony Smith. I think it all comes down to how consistently can Anthony Smith take him down. Because on the feet, Rountree has the clear advantage, especially at kicking range, but on the ground, Anthony Smith has the clear advantage with his grappling. He's going to be able to control positions, look for ground and pound from mount, or potentially transition to a submission. When he gets taken down, Khalil could give up his back, and Anthony would absolutely jump at that opportunity. Man, Khalil's a 2-1 favorite. I don't agree with that at all. You know what? I'm going to go with Khalil Rountree. I am not confident in this pick whatsoever. whatsoever. And I think he gets it done by a decision. I don't think Anthony will shoot as many takedowns as he should. I think he'll test the striking a little too much, and I just think he's completely outmatched on the feet. The leg kicks are going to be a big weapon, even though they are in opposite stances, and the head kicks and body kicks are also going to be a massive weapon for Rountree. Rountree has a lot of the momentum. He's on like a 5-fight win streak, whereas Anthony Smith has lost a lot of his past fights. I think he's 2-2 in his last 4. But because it's on short notice, getting the weight cut down, getting the training down, doesn't have a full training camp to prepare, I'm going with a decision because even though Khalil is very powerful, I think Anthony has the chin and the heart. His nickname is literally Lionheart. So I think he'll be able to take a lot of Khalil's shots. But I would not be surprised if Anthony either submitted him or won a decision behind his wrestling and grappling. But man, it's a tough fight to pick. Unless Khalil goes out there and attacks Anthony's family, then he's going to get knocked out in the first round. And then we go to the main event. Song Yadong will face Chris Gutierrez. The fact that they're having to look all the way down to number 15 just to get Song a fight shows how nobody wants to fight this guy. And I cannot blame them. This guy is very good. He is going to be a title challenger one day for sure. I think he's already up there with the top guys. He had a very close fight with Corey Sandhagen up until the doctor stopped it because of a cut. He is extremely well-rounded, very explosive with his movements and his boxing, very explosive combinations. He has some decent kicks, he has some wrestling, some grappling. He's got a bit of everything, but he is primarily a boxer. Very good, quick combinations. He's extremely powerful. He can get in and out of distance super fast. He has pretty good takedowns as well. He was able to take down Corey Sandhagen, and he has decent grappling. Now, defensively, his striking isn't great. That's his biggest weakness, and that's basically where Chris Gutierrez is going to have to win this fight. Song doesn't really check leg kicks, and Chris Gutierrez has very good leg kicks, like we saw in the Alatanjali fight, I think is how you say his name. Song also does leave his chin exposed a little too much. He doesn't really have much head movement, and he sometimes overextends on his punches. But he has an amazing chin. I don't think he has ever been knocked out once. Actually, he got knocked out once a few years back before he was in the UFC, but since then he has faced a lot of guys who have hit him very hard, and he's never really even been hurt. Chris Gutierrez, on the other hand, likes to throw a bunch of wild, unorthodox stuff at times, a bunch of knees. He knocked out Frankie Edgar with a knee. He throws crazy spinning back fists, spinning elbows, even spinning back kicks. And on the ground, he has decent takedown defense, good grappling, but not the best wrestling. But to be honest, no matter where this fight goes, he has the disadvantage. His best chance at winning is by knocking Song out. Use the leg kicks effectively. Song does not check those. Look for the right hand as Song enters range. Constantly feint. Pretty much everything he does has to be set up off the feints and off the leg kicks. But in the end, I'm definitely going to go with Song Yadong. I just think he's way too much for Chris Gutierrez, and I'll go with him by a later knockout, 4th or 5th round. Gutierrez has actually never been knocked out. He has a pretty good chin, but he's never faced a guy who hits like Song. He got dropped by the left hook against Pedro Munoz, and Song Yadong has a very good left hook, dropped Ricky Simone with it. It's one of his best punches. He'll be able to look for shifting combinations as he enters range because Chris Gutierrez is going to be the longer fighter. Gutierrez doesn't have a great jab, but he's definitely going to have to use it in this fight. Keep Song at range with the jab, with the kicks, constantly kick at his leg, kick to the body. Just keep Song away, as far away from boxing range as possible, because that's where Song's going to do the most damage with his combinations. But in the end, I think Song has the chin to take Gutierrez's best shots. And although Gutierrez has a good chin, he's never faced a guy who hits like Song. Song can constantly look for that left hook, enter into range, use combinations to the body, uppercuts upstairs, mix in takedowns with that. I think he will have a lot of success with the takedowns in this fight because although Gutierrez is no slouch on the ground, definitely has good grappling. He doesn't have the best wrestling or takedown defense, and Song has pretty good wrestling himself. And then the takedowns will open up strikes, the strikes will open up takedowns, and he'll be able to mix it all together. And I think eventually Gutierrez's chin goes. I think Song will possibly land a left hook, hurt him, and then finish him off with a fast combination. And I think he wins a late round TKO. Those are my final predictions for UFC Fight Night, Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez. It's an alright card, definitely has some interesting prospects to watch out for, but the main and co-main event are very good, very interesting fights. But anyways, that's the end of the video. If you are new here and you did enjoy, please be sure to subscribe, like the video if you did enjoy, leave anything you want in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.